have a scary story time about a haunted hospital in London. This woman goes there to have her first baby, and delivery, everything is normal, but during the delivery, mum spikes a temperature, and so they want to keep her in just for a few days just to make sure everything's fine. And so they get put on one of those joint wards. There's like 4 other people in the room or 3 other people in the room, and they all have the curtains around them. You can either like draw, or you can have them open if you're feeling more sociable. And then during the night, much like any other hospital, the nurses would come round and they would take the baby's temperatures, they would take mum's temperature, they would do like blood pressure and whatnot. One night this lady wakes up and there is a nurse standing in her cubicle, and she has her back to the mum herself. You can just tell by the body language of this nurse that she is holding a baby, so I guess she's like kind of hunched over, but she's facing the curtain. Instantly mum sits up and she's like, is everything okay? But normally the nurses are kind of in and out, and it's kind of strange. You wake up and this nurse is holding your baby, but then she looks down and her baby is still in the cot, and she's like, this is weird. And not only that, the nurse doesn't even turn around, so she's shouting out like, is everything okay? But this nurse just stands there silent. And that is when she hears from outside that another one of the mums is crying, and she can hear the voices of other nurses and doctors, and they're talking in a hush-hush voice, but she can tell whatever is happening doesn't sound good. And that's when she realises that the particular nurse standing within her cubicle is probably facing the curtain, waiting to go out and like kind of listening to what's going on. So maybe she was like mid-check with her and her baby, and then she hears this, she turns around and she's now listening in. And then after a while she realises that she can now hear the doors of the ward being open, and she can hear this lady's bed being taken out. And shortly after this, the nurse that was seen to her, she just leaves too. The next day, all of the ladies, they all have their curtains open, and so they're kind of catching up, because obviously there's one lady that is no longer there. And when they ask the nurses, they can't say very much, but they just say, you know, she's been taken to a private room for now, and that's all we can say. Collectively, all the other mums just pray that this lady is okay and that her baby is fine, because they seemed to be doing well the day before in the daytime. They were all chatting. At some point, while all the ladies are still there, one of the other mums runs into this particular woman in the joint kitchen, and this woman tells her that that night she was almost convinced that she saw a lady in her cubicle with long dark hair that was holding her baby. But when she started to speak to this woman, her whole face changed, her eyes went black. She had black liquid running from her eyes, and so immediately she started to scream. And of course this gets the attention of the nurses on shift, and they come running in. But when they go in there, the mum is just on her own with her baby. Her baby's asleep, fast asleep in her cot. And when the nurses start to ask questions about why on earth she was screaming, she starts to tell them what she saw. And this is when the nurses go and raise the flag to the doctors that maybe mum's mental well-being is not doing great, and so they think that she will benefit from having a private room where she can maybe get a little bit more shut-eye, because maybe she's just exhausted and that's why she's seeing things. And so of course all the other women are so sorry to hear this, but they hope with a little bit of rest this woman will actually be fine. But then a few days later, another one of the women sees the same thing. She wakes up in the middle of the night expecting to see a nurse there doing the obs, but she doesn't. She sees a woman inside of her cubicle with long dark hair, and at first she thinks that this woman is facing away from her, but then as a little bit of light comes through the window, she starts to realise that actually this woman doesn't have a face. This isn't a nurse. It looks to her just like the other women have said, that this person is holding a baby. And just as this woman goes to scream, this woman throws the bundle of whatever she had that looked like her baby into the air, which causes this woman to scream even louder. The nurses run in, they turn on the lights, and again there's nobody there. But as this woman starts to say what she saw, again the doctors and the nurses think that maybe this mum is exhausted, and they move her into a side room. The reports don't stop, and it's not only the women on the labour and the maternity ward that see things. One husband says that he woke up in the middle of the night, saw the figure of a woman with no face, and when he went to scream, spiders ran out of his mouth, down his body, and up his wife's hospital bed. They were in a private room because a few nights before his wife had been seeing spiders crawl over their baby's face, and they had all thought she'd had a bad reaction to morphine. He saw it too. One nurse claimed to have seen a mum throw her baby into the air in like a fit of panic, but then nothing hits the floor and she's back in the room, and the mum's just sitting there feeding her baby. Eventually they have such high rates of these sorts of incidents happening with no explanation that they just decide to shut the hospital itself, because they were not able to find like a faulty gas valve that could be making people hallucinate. It went down on record as underfunded, and it shut in like the late 90s. You can Google it.